Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm excited to do this video because I feel like I've seen it kind of going around. I feel like other creators have been doing it, and so I've been kind of thinking about it for a while. So today we are going to be talking about what I would run out and buy immediately. What I would have to get my hands on first if for some horrible reason I lost my entire makeup collection. So if everything disappeared overnight and I had to start from scratch, what would I pick up first? So I kind of operated under the assumption that I have to worry about budget. You know, if I'm starting from the beginning, I'm like, okay, I don't want to spend all my money getting all of my nicest, most expensive things. And then I also kind of had to consider filling as many niches as possible in my collection with just a couple of items in each category. So these aren't necessarily my tip-top favorite things. Some of them are, but some of them are just things that I'm like, okay, this is a really versatile product. This is a really useful product in a lot of different looks and a lot of different situations. So I'll kind of show you what I mean as we go along. But without any further ado, let's get into my picks. So let's start with complexion. I don't necessarily need primer, but I like to have it. And so if I'm gonna pick out primers, I actually need two. I need one that's grippy, like a sticky, tacky one, and then I need one that's glowy. Something that kind of just you layer on underneath foundation or you mix in with foundation that gives it more of a glow, because I love that look. My favorite thing that does the glowy look is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, but that is very expensive. And so if money was no object, I would run right out and buy the Charlotte Tilbury. But because I'm kind of thinking about the constraints of budget, I decided that naturally what I would go for is the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. So this, I have said this before, this is not a dead-on dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury, in my opinion. This has a little bit more coverage, a little more tint, and a little bit less glow, but I think it makes it a little more versatile than the Charlotte Tilbury. I still prefer the Charlotte because I love to glow to the gods, but this is a perfectly good, really, really solid alternative until, I felt like I could splurge and spend the money on the Charlotte. So definitely would bring Halo Glow Liquid Filter back into my collection ASAP. And for my gripping primer, absolutely had to pick the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Dew Primer. As you can see, she's been very well loved. They've been bringing this in and out of retirement. I know that recently they announced that they were going to restock this again, and I saw it on the Ulta website. I have no idea how long it will be there. I have a backup of this because I love it so much. It smells like watermelon. It's super tacky and hydrating and delicious. That being said, if in this situation it was gone when I needed my gripping primer, I would probably just go buy the e.l.f. Power Grip, because I'm 99% certain that those formulas are the same, if not incredibly similar. And I've been meaning to try that one anyway. So I would either get this if it was still available or get the Power Grip. But either way, the e.l.f. Grippy primers are so good. Moving on to coverage products, right? So I decided that for foundation type products, I would need two things. I would need a lighter, everyday kind of tinted moisturizer type of product, and I would need a medium to full coverage event foundation. Going out, needs to last a long time, all that good stuff. So again, if you've been on my channel before, this might not be a surprise to you, but for the lighter coverage tinted moisturizer type product, I picked the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. This is actually what I have on my skin right now. I love this stuff. It is super thin, super hydrating. It has surprisingly good lasting power for being this type of formula. It never makes my skin look dry. It has decent coverage. I would say if you really want to, you can build this up to be a medium coverage, but if you use a sheer layer, it just really evens out your skin tone and makes everything look really juicy and hydrated. And it's like $6, $7, so it would be an easy pick in a situation where I had to start from scratch. For my medium, full coverage, long-lasting event type foundation, this was also a pretty easy pick. I picked my Catrice True Skin Hydrating Foundation. So this is surprisingly hydrating for a long wear, medium full coverage foundation, but more importantly than that, it just gives the most beautiful satin natural finish to the skin. It lasts an insanely long time. I mean, I've worn this to so many events and it holds up no matter what. Catrice is not sold at Ulta anymore, but this is like $10 on Amazon. So again, it would be a really easy thing to pick up in the situation where I had to start from nothing. So Catrice True Skin is so good. I would have to have this. For concealer, this was a super easy pick, and I only need one. I only need one to do my under eyes, spot concealing, literally anything. I can use it all over the face as a base product too. Like, I need one concealer in my life, and it's the NYX Bear With Me Concealer Serum. This is the best concealer in the world. I cannot be convinced otherwise. If I could keep one concealer in my entire collection forever and ever, it would be this one, and it wouldn't even be hard. I love this a weird amount. I have put so many people onto this because of how much I love it. The texture is so thin, so hydrating. It gives the most beautiful dewy look. It's so like delicious and dewy under the eyes. The coverage is insane. Like a teeny tiny little drop of this goes such an incredibly long way. Like, I am obsessed with this stuff. And, you know, like, I like having lots of options for concealer, but if I only had one, this would be the only one that I needed. Then I wouldn't even really be all that sad. Like, I'd be a little sad if I couldn't have my NARS Soft Matte or like my Pat McGrath Skin Fetish, or, you know, that would make me sad. But like, this is the only one I really need. So, yeah. So for powder, I need two. I need a setting powder, which I use to kind of set down makeup that looks a little too dewy, set under my eyes. So usually I'll go with a more mattifying finish for that. And then a finishing powder, which I will usually go for more of a satin or glowy option to kind of dust all over the whole face and kind of, you know, make everything blend together really well. So for setting powder, I actually kind of surprised myself with which one I picked. I picked the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Powder. As you can see, it comes in a really big container, and this whole thing only costs like $6 or $7. It's a really, really nice mattifying powder. It's got like a little bit of a tint to it, but it comes off pretty translucent. It sets the under eyes well. It mattifies the skin in the spots where I want it to be mattified. So, you know, if I feel like I'm looking a little too shiny on my forehead or around my nose, it'll mattify those areas too. I also wanted to have a loose powder option, which is why I picked this one for the setting powder, because I knew that my finishing powder pick was going to be pressed. So, speaking of my finishing powder pick, I know I said that I would want to stick mostly to drugstore products because, you know, obviously I'd be starting from scratch and I would need to, you know, collect a lot of items. And so I would want to pick cheaper items. I don't care. For finishing powder, the only finishing powder that I could ever not live without is the Kosas Cloud Set. Yeah, I would just go spend the money on it. I don't care. Like, do you see how flat that is? That was like one of those baked dome products when I first got it. It is so busted. My packaging's broken. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to get another one. I love this probably even more than the NYX concealer. Like, I love this a freakish amount. If my makeup is ever looking just not quite how I want it to look, if I just go with this stuff, it's suddenly beautiful, flawless, and perfect. I don't know. I don't know what witchcraft Kosas put into this stuff, but it truly is the best finishing powder out there. And I refuse to be without it. So even though it is expensive, I would go out and buy it again in a heartbeat if I lost it. No questions. I thought maybe we should talk about cheek products next, but I changed my mind. Let's talk about eye products instead. So eyeshadow primer. I use eyeshadow primer every single time I'm using powder eyeshadows, and so I knew that I would need to just grab one. Really, there's only one that I use constantly over and over and over again, and it's the Ulta Beauty Matte Eye Primer. This stuff, it's so good. Like, every single eyeshadow blends like a dream on top of this. It's got a little bit of a tint that's almost exactly my skin color, and so it really covers up all of like the veins and all of that garbage on my eyelids. This just ticks every box and does it at an affordable price point. Highly recommend if you've never tried it. This is super underrated. Let's talk brows before we get into eyeshadow proper. So for brow gel, I have a pretty simple pick. I'm actually out of it right now because I've gone through like 4 of them. It's the e.l.f. double-sided like lash and brow thing. Technically, they're telling you it's got a clear brow gel on one side and a clear mascara on the other side. I'm pretty convinced it's the same exact gel on both sides. And it's just a spoolie on both sides. I just use both sides on my eyebrows and it works fine. I really like it. It's not like a super, you know, slicked laminated hold. Like, you're not talking a NYX brow glue type texture. I would say it's more similar to the Kosas Air Brow, and I've been really into that lately. and it costs $3. And you get a pretty decent amount of product because you can use both sides on your eyebrows. So because it's something I would be using almost every day, I wanted to go for like the most affordable option possible if I can only have one in that category, you know? I kind of had a similar philosophy with brow pencils. So to be honest with you, most of my favorite brow pencils are high-end. I feel like I have tried a lot of drugstore pencils that were good, but they're not the ones that I keep repurchasing. But I was thinking about it and I was like, but you would be using this brow pencil every single day. So you would go through that so fast. So I thought, okay, do I have something that's more of like a middle ground option? And I found it. So this is actually the brow pencil I've been kind of obsessed with lately. This is from Billion Dollar Brows. It is the Brows on Point Micro Brow Pencil. And I think it only comes in one shade, which is taupe. It's a pretty dark taupe. So like the color I have in my eyebrows right now is this pencil. And I have to use a pretty light hand when I use it. So it's a pretty dark taupe color, but it works great for my brow hair color. They're almost a spot on match. And this formula is so nice. It's just a really, really creamy pencil. It's pretty pigmented, but it blends in really, really easily. And something about this tip, it is the exact right just size and shape to get a super precise line every single time. It's something about it. I don't know. I just, the more I pull this out and the more I use it, the more I love it. And it runs between like $10 and $13 on Amazon, which is half the price of Benefit Precisely My Brow, which is my high-end favorite. So, you know, if I'm gonna use it every day, it's ultra pigmented, so it doesn't take a lot, and it's a little bit more affordable. So this seemed like a pretty logical choice. If you know anything about me, you may know that I'm a little bit of an eyeshadow fanatic, just a touch. I'm a little bit of an eyeshadow fiend. So this was very hard for me. But I think I kind of narrowed it down at least a little. For a lot of people, the amount of stuff that I picked just to rebuy immediately is like more than a full-size eyeshadow collection. But truly, madly, deeply, I love eyeshadow more than anything. It's always been my favorite category, and I am a collector of it. So I would want to start rebuilding that collection ASAP. So starting with singles. My go-to thing lately has been a liquid matte shadow in a neutral color in the crease and then something glittery sparkly on the lid. I wanted to keep it reasonably affordable, so I didn't want to go for any super high-end stuff. So unfortunately, my beloved Urban Decay Space Cowboy would probably have to wait. For the liquid matte shadow, I picked the About Face Fluid Eye Paint in the shade Capulets. This is a perfect kind of almost rosy neutral brown that works just amazingly as that like go-to crease shade. These are the best liquid eyeshadows, zero joke. I tried so many in 2023 because I went on my liquid eyeshadow kick, and these are the best ones, hands down, no question. I want so many more shades of these. They're ultra pigmented. They are the most blendable. I cannot say enough good things about these, and I think full price these are $16, and since I'd only be buying one, I'm fine with that. $16 to get this, which I would use all of the time, and a little goes a long way, perfectly fine with me. For my glittery topper shade, since I can't have Urban Decay Space Cowboy, or at least I can't justify having Urban Decay Space Cowboy right away, obviously I would grab Colourpop Ritz. She has been very well loved. It's very similar to Urban Decay Space Cowboy, to be fair. Really, the only difference is I would say the Colourpop one has a little bit more of that brown in the base. The Urban Decay base is like almost completely translucent. It's just barely a hint of a beige brown. And then the glitter is also a little more chunky than in Space Cowboy. I don't mind either way. I'm actually a big fan of chunky glitters, so I'm totally fine with it. Ritz is still a favorite of mine, so I would be super happy if like my everyday look was these two shadows. And really, my everyday look often is these two shadows. So that would be a really easy choice for me on that front. Eyeshadow palettes got a little bit tricky. I knew I kind of wanted to stick to Colourpop because I feel like they have so much variety and their formula is dependable, trustworthy. I know it's good. I knew I also wanted to stick to neutrals because that's what I wear on a day-to-day basis. I don't wear colorful eyeshadow enough anymore that I really would run out and buy a colorful eyeshadow palette immediately. If money were no object, I would run out and buy my Pat McGrath Mothership 5 and at least my Natasha Denona Bronze Palette and Retro Palette. But again, in this situation, we're assuming that I'm trying to, maintain some level of conscious spending. So I picked 4 Colourpop palettes that I felt like kind of covered all of my neutral bases. First things first, we have the palette that I have on my eyes right now that kind of covers the Natasha Denona retro palette vibes, like the mauves, the pinky, neutral type of thing, and that is the Colourpop Making Mauves palette. This is a stunning palette. I love this. The formula is so top-notch. These shimmers are so crazy, impactful, and shiny. Look how beautiful that is. But yeah, absolutely insane shadows in this palette, and I feel like I made a very pretty look today. Goes with my pink. So this would be a must for those softer pinky type tones. I'm sure you knew I wasn't going to get through my Colourpop palette segment of this video without saying that I would run out and buy Going Coconuts. Going Coconuts is my favorite Colourpop palette. I would rebuy this in a second. I love this palette with all of my heart and soul. I really do. It just does so much for me. It's got the cooler toned option, the warmer toned option. You've got a light, medium, and dark shimmer. You've got some more true neutral tones kind of over here. You've got that blending out shade, the bone color. And I mean, the quality in this palette, truly some of the best of Colourpop. Cocoa Crush, this shimmer in the middle, is one of my favorite eyeshadow shades in my entire collection. And yeah, every time I talk about this palette on my channel, I swatch this shade. And no, I'm not going to stop. Look at that. So if I could pick one out of the 4 of these, I would be sad, but I would pick Going Coconuts because it's the most versatile, and I love those shades with every fiber of my being. But thankfully, I don't only have to pick one. So I do have 2 more. I've been getting more into doing cooler tone neutrals as well, and so I would be remiss not to include That's Taupe. If I'm going for cool tones, this covers my bases absolutely beautifully. Just perfect. The shimmers, again, are crazy high impact and gorgeous. The mattes are just Colourpop's best. I cannot say enough. This shade, Slated, the one that's the Super Shock shadow, it's kind of dried out now, but it's still insane. It's so sparkly, so glittery. It's got that kind of silvery grayish base to it, but then it's super wet looking and dimensional. It's insanity. I love it so much. This would have to be there as well. So I thought about stopping at those 3, and I feel like I would be happy for a little while with just those 3, especially since right now it's kind of the winter going into springtime when I'm thinking about this exercise, and I feel like during this time of year, I tend to draw more toward true neutrals, maybe even some cool tones, and then like the mauves. But in my heart of hearts, I am a warm tone neutral girly. And Going Coconuts has a couple of shades that are warm tone neutral options, but it doesn't necessarily pull as rich terracotta, orangey, rusty deliciousness as I often crave, especially in the summer and fall. So I was like, okay, well, what if this happened in the summer or fall and I wanted to be able to do my signature, like, orangey brown crease with a gold shimmer? What then? So I pulled Not a Box of Chocolates as well. This is a more recent favorite from Colourpop, but I have loved it very much. It is so gorgeous. This truly, I know I've been touting the quality of these other 3 palettes, and they are phenomenal, but this might be the best quality I've ever tried from Colourpop. And also, hello, this packaging is so precious. Like, the little chocolate imprints, it's crazy. I love this so much. As you can see, it's really gonna give me the warm, delicious richness that I want. It goes a little bit deeper than some of those other options and the other palettes do. And the shimmers in this are insane. Like, I can definitely 100% get that rich gold lid that I go for in the fall time. And I wouldn't even have to go rebuy the Natasha Denona Bronze palette to get it, right? I mean, I would like to rebuy the Natasha Denona Bronze palette at some point, but for a little while, I would be very content to use Not a Box of Chocolates for my warm tone shadow needs. So I felt like this kind of filled a gap, and so it needed to be there. I thought about including eyeliner in this, but I feel like I don't really need it. Today I have a little wing on, but it's just a little shadow wing, and I was kind of thinking, you know, at least for the first little while, I could use my eyeshadows to do most of the eyeliner stuff that I would want to do. The one thing I might do is pick up like the nude colored eyeliner from maybe Colourpop or a brand that's like comparably cheap. I really like doing a nude eyeliner in my waterline, and I don't really have any super affordable ones right now, but I like the Colourpop eyeliner formula, and that would be a pretty safe pick for me. So I would think about doing that, but really for the most part, I feel like I could go with just my eyeshadows for quite some time. Mascaras, I feel like I would need two. I would need like a normal traditional mascara and a tubing mascara. As somebody who works in healthcare, I wear tubing mascaras all the time because they last all day, they never smudge, they never flake, and they wash off really, really easily. So if money were no object, I would pick the Thrive Cosmetics tubing mascara because it's the best one. It's the best tubing mascara. If you're asking my recommendations for tubing mascaras and you want to know what is the best one that money buys, it's the Thrive one. That being said, I put a lot of money toward like eyeshadow and blush and then lip products, which we'll get to. So I was like, okay, I would just pick up the Milani one. I like it less, but it does the job. You know, when you first buy it, it's a really, really wet formula, and so that kind of takes a lot of finagling and working with it to get it to look right. But when I put it on today, I didn't have any problems. It actually went on super easy and didn't clump up at all. So I think it just needed some time to dry out just a smidge, and I like it a lot better now. So, you know, I feel like it would be something I could work with, you know, to save the money. I think this is like less than half the price of the Thrive, so yeah, I feel like I'd be okay with just making this work, at least for the first little while. In terms of my traditional normal mascara, for me, this was also an easy pick. I love a lot of drugstore mascaras. I really, really do. But the one mascara that I can put on in like 2.5 seconds that makes me feel like my eyelashes look beautiful, amazing, and incredible every single time is the Rare Beauty mascara. And the mini of the Rare Beauty mascara is $11, which in my book is drugstore priced. So by the time I ran through a full mini of the Rare Beauty one, I feel like I would be in a position to buy another mascara. So I'm fine with just buying the mini of the Rare Beauty because it's so good and it's basically drugstore price, right? My eyelashes look good every single time I use this, and I have to put in like no effort. It's crazy. So I would have to have this in my collection. It's $11, it's fine. Let's go ahead and get into cheek products because y'all know I love to talk about cheek products. So I decided that for blush and bronzer, I definitely needed cream and powder options. So for my cream bronzer option, I again was looking in the affordable direction, and it was a pretty easy pick, the Makeup Revolution Ultra Cream Bronzer. This is a perfect tone. It's a little bit deep, which I think is good because it works in the summer, but it's also blendable enough that you can sheer it out for, you know, my palest of pale days in the wintertime. It is such a creamy, it melts when you touch it. It's crazy. The formula is so beautiful. It blends like butter on your skin. It is so gorgeous. This is such a top tier bronzer, and for $8, this would be an easy add to cart in this scenario. This is one of the best cream bronzers, not just at the drugstore, so I would need it back for sure. Powder bronzer, I went with a drugstore pick because I think it is currently probably still my favorite powder bronzer. But I'll add the caveat that even though it is technically at the drugstore, it's kind of pricey. I've seen this run for up to $20, which I think is insane for a drugstore bronzer, but it's a little cheaper on some websites than others. But it's the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Bronzer. I have mine in the shade 250 Light. This is such a gorgeous formula. It's so soft. It's so just like deliciously buttery. It blends onto the skin so beautifully. The tones that this is available in are so good. It's so soft, but it builds up so easily that you can really get a lot of punch out of the pigment of this if you build it up. So again, it's really versatile in that way. I just love this stuff. Even though it's a little more pricey, I feel like the difference in quality justifies the difference in price, you know? So I'd pay $15 for this to have it again, which I think you can get it for on Amazon for sure. Hell, I'd pay more than that, but you know, if I could do 15, that would be nice. So you guys knew blushes were gonna be a challenge for me because I am a blush fanatic. I did manage to narrow it down to 2 creams and 2 powders, which for me, I think is pretty good. And I thought a lot about the prices here and also the versatility. So for me, when I think of blushes, I kind of think, okay, I want options for warm toned looks and cool toned looks, and then I want options that kind of work for both. That I can kind of mix and match these options together and kind of make any tones that I want, if that makes sense. So let's talk about creams first. I know what I said about drugstore options, but hear me out. Rare Beauty Liquid Blush in the shade Encourage is number 1, my all-time favorite cream blush. If I could have one cream blush in my life, it would be this one. Number 2, the formula is just the most delicious, easy to blend, gives you the most dewy looking, healthy looking cheek, plump, delicious. I love it. And also the shade Encourage specifically is perfect because I feel like it goes with absolutely everything. I feel like I could not create a look that this did not match. Except, I mean, maybe if I did like bright orange and yellow, it would be a little bit too pink for that. But actually, now that I see it on camera, no, it would work with that too. It is a perfect, just chameleon blush shade. So yeah, I would have to pay 20 something dollars to have it. I think it's 23 now, but you get so much product and it's such a high quality product that for me, it ends up being worth it. My other cream blush I think makes up for it though by being so cheap, and that is the JCat Blushmallow in the shade Thank You Very Much. I really wanted a warmer option. I am a big sucker for just like a rich terracotta orangey brown blush. And in the absence of my beloved Patrick Ta, She's So LA, this, it's a pretty different color, but it gives a similar energy of that like so sunburnt that it starts to turn tan kind of look that I really, really love in a blush. So this is what that looks like. It has a really satisfying kind of like bouncy texture. It's super pigmented, ultra blendable, and you can get these on Ulta for less than $5 most of the time. They're so cheap. So I don't feel that bad for throwing in a second cream blush when it's that cheap. For powder blushes, I thought really hard about this because I was also thinking, okay, are these ones that I feel like I can pair well with the 2 creams that I picked to make lots of different options? And so when I was thinking of powder blushes that work as that chameleon shade for me that I can wear with anything, my mind immediately went to Revlon Apricute. I have literally talked about this blush and told you guys, I feel like when I put this on with a mauve look, it looks mauve. When I put this on with a warm tone look, it looks more neutral. When I put this on with true neutrals, it looks like a really just straight up rosy pink. I don't know what it is about this blush tone. I get maybe on my skin tone, I'm not sure, but it just works with everything. And the formula is such a delight. It's beautifully blendable. It's pigmented, but it blends out well enough that you don't have to worry about getting like a huge stamp of pigment on your cheek. It's got a little bit of a hint of some sheen to the finish, but it's pretty satin, so it doesn't look super matte, but it's not ultra glowy either. I mean, this is just middle ground in a blush. And so if I was looking for something just incredibly versatile to start the collection with, I would pick this in a heartbeat. It's also like $8 or $9 on Amazon, so like, you know, affordable pick too. It's a win just all around. So then I was thinking, okay, what is the kind of powder blush niche that I feel like Apricute fills the least well? And I would say the answer to that is, again, that like brown, almost suntanned, rich kind of look that I really like to go for. The Almay Healthy Hue blush in the shade, I think it's nearly nude. I forget. It's the nude one. It is the most gorgeous, richly pigmented, just nude brown. It can pull rosy. Like if I topped this over the top of Rare Beauty's Encourage, it would pull a little more rosy. But if I topped it over the top of the JCat Blushmallow, it would pull that like terracotta orange color. So yes, it is the more warm brown option that I feel like Apricute doesn't do as well, but I can also get it to go a couple of different directions. This one's also a little bit shimmerier than Apricute, and I love a shimmery blush, so I felt like I needed to at least have one. And this just checks so many boxes, and again, at a very affordable price point. So I would be pretty happy with those 4 blushes, at least for a while, because blush is my vice. I feel like I could get a lot of different looks and a lot of versatility combining those 4 together. Finally, for cheek products, we're going to talk about highlighters. I like cream highlighters fine, but I'm much more likely to just use a powder highlighter. And generally speaking, I kind of go 2 directions with highlighter most of the time. I'll either go with more of like a champagne-y pink shade or a true gold shade. And so for me, my picks from the drugstore were easy to do. I picked for my kind of pinkier shade the Catrice More Than Glow highlighter in the shade Supreme Rose Beam. This is, I think, $6 on Amazon, and it is wildly shiny. Yeah. Gorgeous. In beautiful, smooth, creamy formula. I love it. Can't say enough good things. Easy choice. For the gold highlighter, again, not as hard of a choice as I kind of expected it to be. I went with the Revlon Skin Lights highlighter in the shade Daybreak Glimmer. Part of the reason that I would go straight for this is because my all-time favorite highlighter is the ABH Amrezy highlighter, and that has been discontinued for quite some time. And so if I lost all my makeup, I would lose that, which would eat me up inside forever and ever. But this is by far the closest thing available. Drugstore, high-end, whatever. This is the closest thing out there to the Amrezy highlighter. So if I lost my Amrezy highlighter, I would be very sad. But if I had this, I would feel a little bit better about it. So that is Daybreak Glimmer, that gold one right there, super smooth and shiny. So this was the easy gold pick, and that would really cover my bases for highlighters, at least for a little while. If I was gonna grab like an icy white shade, because sometimes I like to do something a little more icy, I'd probably go for Colourpop Flexitarian, but these are kind of more the staple colors that I'm the most likely to wear on a day-to-day basis. Oh, and maybe the Essence Pure Nude highlighter if I was gonna go for something more subtle, but I don't do subtle very often. All right, folks, we've made it to lip products, which is the last category. If you're still here, leave me a comment down below and let me know what makeup product you absolutely could not live without. I'm very curious to hear you guys' opinions on this. So, lip liners. In this scenario, having lip liner options makes it a little bit easier to narrow down the other lip products. So I have 3 lip liners here. 2 of them are the NYX Slim Pencils. These are $4, so I definitely do not feel any guilt whatsoever about having a couple of these plus 1 more lip liner. I would pick the shades Peekaboo Neutral, which is pretty much a dead-on dupe for Charlotte Tilbury's Pillow Talk. This is just a solid, kind of neutral pink color. It can lean peachy if you put it with peach. It can lean pinky if you put it with pink. So it's pretty versatile in that regard. And then I would pick the shade Nude Beige, which is one I have been using so much. It is this super gorgeous, like neutral, almost cool tone, depending on what you pair it with, brown. And so I feel like, okay, I've got my pink, I've got my neutral to cool brown. And for me, I know that I would also need something warm toned. I love a good warm nude lip. And so my go-to for that now and forever has been Colourpop's BFF. So that one is BFF on the end there. So I would be pretty happy with these 3 shades. These are really the lip liner colors I wear the most often, and all of these are at a really affordable price point. For liquid lipsticks, I don't wear liquid lipstick that often, and I would only pick 1. I feel like if I'm gonna have 1 liquid lipstick in my collection and I'm gonna have 1 red lipstick in my collection, they need to be a red liquid lipstick, because I feel like if I'm gonna wear a red, I want that to stick around. I don't just wear a red like out and about. I know some people wear a red like on an everyday basis. I am not that girl. If I'm wearing a red, I'm going to a party or out on the town or to an event or something, and it needs to hold up. So Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink in the shade Dancer is my go-to red liquid lip. I love this stuff. I really love that this one pulls a little bit more warm orangey red as opposed to that like blue-based red. I feel like I really prefer how a shade like this looks on my skin tone. It just looks so vibrant. I'm gonna wipe this off before it dries or I'll never get it off. I also picked out 2 bullet lipsticks that I feel like cover a lot of bases. I wanted options that would coordinate with the lip liners, but that I could also use to kind of mix and match with the lip liners to make lots of different shade options. So I wanted one to go with Peekaboo Neutral and because it's pretty much a dead-on color dupe for Pillow Talk. I pulled another dead-on color dupe for Pillow Talk. This is Milani's Color Fetish matte lipstick in the shade Secret. I have sung her praises on this channel many, 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 many times because it is a dead-on color dupe for Pillow Talk, but it is not a formula dupe. It is better. This is much more long-lasting, much more comfortable on the lips in my opinion, and I love this formula. This is a phenomenal, phenomenal formula. I would actually, in this scenario, consider picking up another shade of this in like a warmer brown kind of color, but because I don't have one in that color, I picked out my Maybelline Raw Chocolate matte lipstick. This, I would also feel like I need like a warm brown. I need that like nude moment. So, you know, in this scenario, like it pretty much fits with what I already do. What colors am I wearing on my lips at any given time? Probably either a warm nude brown or a, you know, kind of nude-ish pink. I'm not that interesting when it comes to lipstick on a day-to-day basis, so really these two and those 3 lip liners would go a pretty long way for me. That being said, I did grab a few gloss options because I am a lip gloss girl at the end of the day. So I grabbed 3 lip glosses. All of them are drugstore price points as well, so I don't feel that bad about it. First, I would need something that kind of passes for a clear, easy choice. My Maybelline Lifter Gloss in the shade Ice. This is, you can see it's been quite well loved and used in my collection. This, yeah, it has like that hint of pink, but it goes on the lips as a clear. This is one of the ones that doesn't have sparkle in it, so I feel like it just makes your lips look plump, juicy, hydrated, delicious. See, there's no sparkle to that. It's all just like wet, hydrated, dewy glossiness, and I love it. I swear to God, I could carry that lip gloss around in my purse as a lip balm and I would be super happy and my lips would be super well hydrated. It's so wonderful. Again, I kind of wanted a pinker color and a nude kind of color to fit with the other options and the other products that I pulled. So for my pinker, maybe some might say redder option, I literally cannot live without my CoverGirl So Yummy Gloss in You're Just Jelly. I have not put this down since I got it. It's so good. It's so good. You can see it's not ultra pigmented, right? It's a pretty sheer, pinky kind of color. It smells incredible. It smells like some kind of candy I had in my childhood, but I cannot remember. It is so cushiony and thick and delicious. It feels like a lip treatment even more than a lip gloss. This is amazing. If I could pick one gloss to just buy like a bunch of different colors of, I'd pick this one. It's so good. It's so good. And last but not least, like I said, I feel like I need kind of a brown nude gloss option. And I was kind of looking for one in a drugstore formula, and I couldn't really find one. I have some in kind of higher end formulas that I like, but I wanted to keep the price point kind of down because I have picked a lot of lip products. So I ended up going with one from the Sephora collection. This is, I think, $12 full price, but they run sales on the Sephora collection literally all the time. So you can probably get it for closer to $8 or $9. This is the Outrageous Plumping Gloss in the shade 2, which I believe is called XXL Nude. It is a very pretty, pretty neutral toned brown. I guess it leans a little bit warm, but it really depends what you pair it with. Super shiny. The plumping part is not at all obnoxious. It really just kind of tastes a little bit minty on the lips. I don't mind it at all, and I can be kind of sensitive to that kind of thing. It's a beautiful, cushiony formula, and I'm a big fan of it. So this seemed like a pretty good starting point for nude glosses. And those are the products that I would go buy if all of my makeup disappeared overnight. I know that that is still kind of a lot of products, but I have kind of a lot of makeup, and for me, this would be just the beginning of re-curating a very large but well-loved collection of makeups. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing this little thought experiment. If you did like it, please leave me a like down below, leave me a comment, and if you want to see more from me, please hit subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you. I am this close to hitting 500 subscribers, and that would be such a cool way to start off 2024. So please do hit subscribe if you like what you've seen from me. And until the next one, bye you guys.